Good. Okay.
That'll be a separate.
Good evening, everybody. I'm going to call this meeting to order. Our regular work session for February 14th, 2022. The time is 6:02 p.m. We have all council members present except for Councilmember Whitaker, who is having some time with his daughter in Los Angeles. And I understand Councilmember Daigle is online with us. So our first item tonight is the Housing Authority. Lindsay. Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah. We have the interpreter give an introduction.
Thank you,
Hi.
Mayor. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Andrea. I'm here with the Community Language Cooperative so that we can practice language justice. This means that everybody will be able to hear and speak in the language of their heart. To do that, we're going to use the tool of simultaneous interpretation in Zoom. And once I'm done saying this in Spanish, we're going to turn on the interpretation and you're going to see a world map at the bottom of your screen, or 3 little dots, or where it says more if you're on your phone or tablet. Please click it and select your language if you are not fully bilingual in English and Spanish. Please remember to speak at a conversational pace, to stretch your words. And if you're referring to something in the document, please let me know where you're at so that I can follow along. Hola a todos, mi nombre es Andrea, estoy aquí con la Community Language Cooperative para ayudarnos a crear un espacio de justicia del lenguaje donde podamos practicar pues la justicia del lenguaje y escuchar y hablar en el idioma de nuestro corazón. Vamos a utilizar la interpretación simultánea en inglés y en español, y cuando termine de decir esto vamos a aprender la interpretación y vas a ver en la parte inferior de tu pantalla un mapa mundo, 3 punticos donde dice More, y vas a poder seleccionar ahí para escoger el idioma de tu corazón. Thank you, and we can begin interpretation now.
Thank you. All right, I will call to order our Sheridan Housing Authority meeting at 6:04 p.m. And we still have all council members present, or board members present, except for Mr. Whitaker. First item tonight is the minutes, the presentation and approval of the minutes. Not on yet.
I think,
Yeah.
oh, yep, there we go. Does anybody have any questions regarding the minutes?
Be glad to have a motion on the minutes.
I'll second.
Motion made by Board Member Hall and seconded by Board Member Stang. Any discussion on the minutes? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion is approved. Or hold on, I didn't hear Councilman or Board Member Daigle, sorry.
Oh, I said aye.
Okay, thank you. I just realized I wasn't really listening for you. So
Oh, fine. See,
sorry.
out of sight, out of mind. That's okay.
Next, we have the financial report presentation and approval.
All right, I do have an addendum.
Okay.
Not actually get January's balance sheet for the general fund in your packets. This is the latest and greatest. We got $9 of interest.
Ooh,
from the
exciting.
Thank you so much. In general, you don't see a lot of movement with this fund. It is just our general fund is where we keep the rest of the housing money. And like I said, we are basically getting about $7 of interest a month. So that is the accrual that you see on that account. Still a good healthy balance though, which we were getting more interest, but maybe when the interest rates rise, we'll see more. And then if you look at the balance sheets for the properties for Sheridan and for the port property, the folks that poured into the Sheridan Housing Authority, again, everything looks fine in terms of income, except we are sort of per usual, would not reimbursed fully by HUD for the expenses that we made on the voucher payments. And we're going to have to do now the year-end reconciliation. And so kind of unfortunately, if you look at the HAP equity calculations for the beginning of January of 2022, we are about 42,000 in the hole That's carryover from being in the hole in November, being in the hole in December, and then new being in the hole in January. And again, that is okay. That is why we have excess reserves to use. We're not necessarily not paying people. We're just having to go back to HUD and say, you fund, and they fund us based on old numbers. So they give us funding for November and December based on August and September. And when we spend more, we just go back to them and say, hey, we spent more, and they do the reconciliation. So it looks a little kind of concerning going into 2022, but it is nothing to get concerned about. The reconciliation process has started already. And so I anticipate seeing these payments come through probably in March to make us whole. Other than that, though, the programs fiscally are strong. As I talk about a little bit later on, we are just waiting for a budget authority to see where sort of the final numbers will lie for 2022.
Get a motion on the financial report.
I'll make a motion to approve the financial report.
I'll second.
Motion made by Board Member Smith and seconded by Board Member Daigle. Any questions on the financial report?
No, I just have a question. I think, so they reconcile, if I recall, right around March every year, right? This isn't nothing new. This is just kind of their standard procedure. It takes them forever, right?
It can take forever. So we're going to start the process. It might not be resolved in March, but no, this is nothing new. We're
Right.
spending within our budget authority. So we expect them to give us the money. They just dole it out in monthly increments, and they decide your monthly increments based on past spending. So we spent a little bit more in the end of the year, totally fine. We just need them to give us the rest of the money.
Okay. That's kind of what I thought. I remember this. This is a huge process that you have to go through, and kind of a cat and mouse game almost, where you wait, and so we'll just bear with you.
Any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is approved. All right, and we have program reports next, presentation and approval.
And I should have pointed out with all those reports, you have 3 months. Normally you have 2. I wasn't able to come last month. I appreciate the flexibility in coming this month. So I did bring January's with me. So you have the 3. So in terms of looking at our program leasing, we are right now sitting at 156 vouchers leased up out of 177. That is actually a really good spot for us right now. We are right where we need to be in terms of spending the right amount of money. So at this point, we don't anticipate leasing up any new vouchers. Of course, if we get more money from HUD, or if we lose vouchers because people poured out or they relinquish their vouchers, we would issue some more. But at this point, the leasing is just looking pretty spot on for Sheridan.
Anyone have any questions, or would you like to make a motion?
I'll second.
Motion made by Board Member Hall and seconded by Board Member Smith. Any other questions or comments on the program reports? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion is approved. All right, next we have the manager's report.
All right. So as I said, everything's looking good in terms of leasing up. The biggest question mark we have right now is budget authority. HUD is operating under a continued resolution for funding, and that expires the 18th, which is Friday, I believe. So we are just kind of waiting to see, everybody in HUD is waiting to see as to whether or not we'll have another discontinuing resolution and budgets will stay the same, or budgets will be changed based on the recommendations from the House and the Senate. Both the House and the Senate have put forth more money for the voucher program, including more money for the administrative fees, which is how we get paid to administer the program. Those admin fees cover staff, inspections, all the administrative tasks for the program. So of course, I would love to see more funding come through, because that means we could lease up more vouchers. nobody knows. So we'll see what happens on Friday. That said, if we got more money, we have that very robust lottery list that we pulled last year. So I do anticipate that we'd be able to lease up folks pretty quickly in Sheridan. So, fingers crossed we
Yeah,
get more, but I'm not holding my breath by any
Right.
means. In terms of the grant that we have with the Sheridan School District, that continues to go well. At this point, we are looking to just continue to spend more money to support the families that are either experiencing homelessness in the district or at risk of homelessness. The district just hired a new homeless liaison coordinator who is an integral part of our team. So having him on board, I think is going to be very helpful to recruit more families and for us to help more families. The grant goes through September 3rd of 2022. And we're expecting a new RFP to come out for this grant program. We've decided between us and the school district, we want to reapply. So hoping we do see the RFP soon. We've had some conversations with Inglewood School District and possibly making our application kind of a joint one between us, Inglewood and Sheridan, which we think would be really neat. I mean, the kind of the point of this grant is to help folks with housing, but it's also school stability and keeping kids who are experiencing homelessness in school, doing well, meeting attendance and grade requirements. And so having Inglewood on board and having this kind of 3 partnership would be really impactful for the grant. So fingers crossed, again, that grant has money to do another couple of years for us and that we can bring Inglewood on board to strengthen that grant.
Hey, Lindsay, maybe I missed it. Who does the grant? Who issues the grant?
It is from the state.
It's
It's passed through. This grant that we're on right now is an ESG CV. So it's Emergency Solutions CARES money.
okay.
So it was a pass through from the federal government that DOH monitors. Of course, they won't have that money anymore because the CARES money is done. They have normal ESG funds, and that's where we're hoping they'll have enough normal ESG funds to re-up these grants for another cycle.
Got you. Thank you.
Let's see, talk a little bit about Bonsai Flats. I spoke with Josh Russell from the Medici Consulting Group on Friday just to get an update on Bonsai Flats. Everything is looking pretty good. They're looking to close the financial piece at the end of fall. They're currently working on some architectural layouts and some designs. I think they just finished the purchase of actually buying the Bonsai Flats property. And they're letting the owners take some time to clear out whatever they need to clear out. So just wanted to give an update that it's moving along and we're very excited about it. All those units in Sheridan are going to be amazing. And if you didn't know this, they're going to dedicate a part-time person to doing resource coordination, and they're building a community room as part of the design. So they're hoping to have resources and case manager kind of services on site to help the families that are living there. So that's a really neat component, I think, for the community.
That's great.
Kind of last update, our offices have been closed since COVID. It's been about 2 years that we have not really opened our doors. If things stay the way they are right now, we anticipate actually opening in March. We're going to stick to appointments only, but we're going to open our doors kind of back up and welcome people back in. Staff feels pretty comfortable with that at this point. So we can always close it back up, but I feel we all kind of feel that it's time to probably open those doors back up.
Thank you.
Questions?
Actually, I do have a question. I just got to figure out how to ask it. So the homelessness prevention grant and the homelessness initiative that Tara and Devin have been involved with. When there is all of that, I mean, is it all kind of a part of it, or how does it fit into that? Or does it? Or is this just for school-age children? Is it too? So see, I don't really know how to ask this question.
That's okay. I think I know what you're getting at. I can answer it. I think it's not a formal part of the Tri-Cities action plan on addressing homelessness. It certainly could be. it's just something that we were approached by the school district to help with when the grant RFP came out and things progressed pretty quickly. But it's definitely not necessarily operating in a vacuum, right? I participate in those groups in the Tri-City Homeless Action Policy Committee
Tri-City
meetings.
Homeless Policy Group.
Right.
Yeah.
Once every other month. So the Housing Authority participates in those too to keep a pulse on things. And certainly I think it could be. This grant does only focus on children who are in the Sheridan School District. That's kind of the nexus. If you want services from this grant, you have to have children actively enrolled. So we don't just help, kind of any family. That said, Sheridan, the data on the families in Sheridan is that there are a good number of families that experience homelessness. So we think the grant is really important because it tackles that family aspect, which is a big component of the Tri-Cities Action Plan. Is addressing homelessness for families and homelessness for individuals. So I think if we get the grant again, probably would be good to bring what we're doing to the Tri-Cities Policy Group and share that and maybe have that become part of the action plan.
Considering that, so the Tri-Cities are
Littleton, Inglewood, and Sheridan.
right. So next year, so it ends in September, and you're gonna see if Inglewood would partner. What about having Littleton School District partner, or no?
Right. And we talked about Littleton a little bit, but Littleton's not our jurisdiction as the housing authority. So
Right.
then we'd be bringing in South Metro Housing Options, and Littleton's a bit bigger. It'd probably make a lot more sense for Littleton by themselves to partner with LPS.
Gotcha.
And that said, I don't know if that's something they're necessarily interested in. We all kind of have different sort of focuses we take and maybe little like side endeavors. And again, we were approached by the Sheridan School District. I never saw this on my own and thought of it on my own. I'd be happy to share it with Corey, though, who's the ED of Littleton, if this comes back out. And they actually ask for new applicants. Sometimes the grant cycle will only ask for renewals. So it kind of depends on what kind of funding the state has for this.
Cool. Because I know that the grant helps. So like if a family has a family member that's out sick, not able to work, and that threatens their ability to pay rent or whatever, then this grant can step in and help with that and help pay some of the costs that might go along with a parent being out sick or whatever, right?
Yes, we
and then
can-
there's the SR grants as well that kind of feed into that as well to help people from falling through the cracks. Right?
I'm not sure what an SR grant is.
For the COVID relief kind of to help with, I think they help with like food security and different things like that. If I
Okay.
remember right. So that if someone does, get into a position where they can't pay the rent because of an illness or whatever the reason might be, I don't know. Because I know that's a separate fund, and then there's this. Does it matter what the reason is with you all that they're?
No, it doesn't matter the reason. They just have to have kids on the school district. And so we've been referred some folks who we found out their kids aren't in the school district anymore or never were. And there are lots of different funds out there that are being administered by different agencies. Arapahoe County has a really robust housing fund right now. Some of the smaller human service agencies like Family Tree and IFCS are doing some rental assistance. So if we find folks that don't qualify for our grant, we give them kind of that warm handoff to another entity who can help them with what they need financially.
Gotcha. So here, okay, now here's the big question. We have all of these funds and these grants to help people with their rent when they get in trouble or whatever the case may be. Is there any information out there or documentation or tracking to show what some of the causes are, and if the causes are because of rent increases?
We don't really keep track of the causes for our families because it's not a data point that we have to keep. We have to keep some other data points for the reporting for the grant. And at the end of the day, for us, it sort of doesn't matter. We just want to help get you stabilized. But if you look at the DU study that was done to support the Tri-Cities policy group, the DU study really looked at a lot of the root causes of homelessness in our area. And so that might be a good report to take a look at to see what's going on in our Tri-Cities.
Oh, that would maybe.
Lindsay, I was just gonna say that. That's dead on, yeah. So there is some aspects or some data that was in that DU study that looks at that and looks specifically at, ask that question for our jurisdictions here in the Tri-Cities area. And so we have some numbers on that of what that looks like. So Sally, we've got some in there, and cost of living was absolutely, a factor in almost all
Right.
those cases, right?
I mean, anecdotally, we do see in some of the families that we are helping that the rents are really just too high. Even we have families who are actively working and have jobs and just simply can't afford an apartment. And so they're either doubling up, and we're trying to help them undouble up so that they're not smushed into one house, because that's not safe.
Right.
But once we're done kind of giving the assistance, they have to be able to support themselves. So we still are finding that we're putting folks in sort of smaller than maybe ideal units. We're doing 2 heartbeats per room when people are looking for places, because they have to be able to sustain the rent once we're done. And that is a hardship. That is hard in this area.
Right. So then how do we really kind of fix the problem where we're actually helping people be able to stay in their homes? It just seems that there should be, something that we could maybe help do somehow. I don't know. It's just mind boggling that people are losing their homes because they can't pay the rent, and the people are continuing to, I still know of people that are being moved out of their apartments because the apartment owners are coming in and putting in, new tile floors and a quartz countertop and bouncing the rent up, $400 or $500 to where people can't afford it. And then they're, they're like moved out of their home and now they're homeless. And it just seems to me that there should be something more than just, it almost feels, not that this is a bad thing, because it's a great thing to help them, but are we just putting a Band-Aid on the problem and not really getting to the crux of the problem and fixing the problem so that people aren't in this position?
I can chime
That's-
in. And
Say, go ahead.
what we found from the DU study is that there's a whole, plethora of issues that can lead to
Right.
homelessness. There's not a single thing that we can do. We have to take many different approaches. And, for us, you'll see on the agenda tonight, we're going to talk about the homeless coordinator position.
Right.
So that's our
Well,
first
this is
step,
actually, this
you
is
know?
a great place to start for sure. I just wish there was something more we could do. I don't know. Anyway, thank you so much.
We're going to keep working on it.
I know.
For sure. I have one more thing I want to add that was not in the report, but I felt it was important to mention, because normally you would see me at the end of February coming in to talk about CMAP, which is the Section 8 Management Assessment Program. It's basically, for those of you who are newer, it's HUD's way of monitoring the Section 8 program to see if we are performing up to their standards. And you can either be troubled, a standard performer, or a high performer based on your scoring. We have been a high performer for the past few years. However, CMAP has been on hold. It was one of the CARES waivers that they put in place just because there was challenges in administering the HCV program during COVID. So for us, our high performer scores will carry over into 2022. And then the CMAP will resume for us at the end of 2022. We're on a January to December fiscal year. So we kind of slid right in with the end of the waivers. They all ended on December 31st. So we're good for one more year. So you won't need to see me at the end of February to talk about CMAP.
Thank goodness.
I mean, I'm always happy to come and talk about homelessness and housing, but
It's not that we don't enjoy it.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe you want to make a motion on the manager's report?
I'll make a motion to approve manager's report.
I'll second.
Motion made by Board Member Stang, seconded by Board Member Smith. Any other questions on the manager's report? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion is approved. And next we have unfinished business review, resolution number 8, series 2021, approval of service agreement between SHA and IHC.
So as you recall from the December meeting, we approved the service agreement and we approved it for 2 years to go through 2023. The language in the resolution was not adequate to support that resolution. So we're working with Bill still. So this is going to continue to be an unfinished business. We're still just figuring out the right language to put in the resolution so that we can extend it through 2023.
All right.
So I will bring that back, and sticking on schedule, I would be back in March. So that won't be too long.
All right, Bill better get working then.
We want to make the resolution perfect.
Okay, doesn't look like we have anything for new business. Do you have anything else? Any other questions, anyone, before we adjourn this? We'll adjourn the
Thank
Housing
you very
Authority
much.
meeting at 6:28 p.m. Thank you.
You're welcome. We'll see you guys in March. Happy Valentine's Day.
Thank you, you too. Do you need a signature from me? All right. Next, we're going to hand it over to Devin. He's going to update us.
I'm going to do some handouts real quick, Mayor, so you can do your
Thank you.
signature.
He's going to update us on the Tri-City Homeless Policy Committee. Yeah.
Yes,
You're primed and ready to go.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, well, it's always good to have something in front of
Yep.
you to follow.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. So this evening, during your regular meeting, you have 2 action items, one of which is approval of the intergovernmental agreement with and between the county and the Tri-Cities group for the hiring and employment of a homelessness coordinator position. So I want to talk about that, and then we'll kind of go into where are we in that whole process. It's timely update on what we're talking about tonight. So with the IGA, if you want to pull that up, it's in your packet. It's a relatively brief IGA. And going into, when you get into the second page and you get into the role of the parties, we'll talk about a little bit about what the homelessness coordinator position is going to do. And then the handouts I gave you are going to go into more detail, and we'll see how much time we have tonight as to how much detail I go in that, but you can take that away and look at that later if we need to. Let's talk about the roles of the party. So this is a kind of a unique position in that we're going to have a position reporting to quite a number of different entities, the way it's going to work out. So it's interesting. So this position, it's going to, under the county will provide the day-to-day oversight of the coordinator position. So technically there'll be a county employee or at least managed by the county. And they're going to do the employment contract. They're going to provide the pay. They're going to do the benefits, all that kind of thing for administering that position. They'll do any materials in a workplace. So they'll provide a workspace for them. And hopefully it'll be, in conjunction or in coordination close area with their coordinator position that they're hiring for the county. So the county is going to be hiring, what do they call it? A county homelessness administrator position. And then this position would technically kind of be under the auspices of that administrator position. So they'll house it at the county, and then the county will provide potential funding for projects. But basically that'll be on kind of a case by case basis. And so what it'll be is the county and the Tri-Cities groups working together saying, all right, here's some of the projects that we're going to be wanting to fund and have the coordinator work on these projects. And we'll kind of take that as it comes on a case by case basis, figure out, okay, Tri-Cities will pay this or the county will pay that, however we decide to work that aspect of it out. On the city side, we will basically provide the funding that pays for the position and the overhead to go along with that, at least as far as like benefits and materials. So overall, the estimate on that, the city's agreed to pay $110,000, and that's salary, benefits, and materials. And then you can see the breakdown of it. Inglewood will do 44,000, Littleton 44,000, and Sheridan will do 22,000. Now that's each year for 3 years. Okay, and so what that will take us to is $66,000 in the anticipation. What I know we're looking at, and all the cities is looking at ARPA funding for this, at least getting through a few years of that. What happens after that 3 years will be kind of a discussion between Tri-Cities and the county and see kind of where are we after we've been working on it for a while and see how it's going and what we need to do. So I'm hopeful that it will transition into a permanent type of a situation, and we'll need to work on figuring out, okay, what do the funding streams look like to be able to keep that position, not only at the county level, but at our level, and keep that going along. What's this position going to do? Basically, what they're going to do is work on implementing the work plan that the Tri-Cities group came up with. And you guys have seen that, but we'll talk about that a little bit here as we move along. There's a summary at the back of it as an attachment onto the IGA. It gives a very brief kind of line by line outline of what that scope of services will look like. What this handout I have for you here. Well, let's wait till we get that. We'll wait just a second and we'll go through that a little bit more. But that's what that position is going to be doing, is basically implementing the work plan that the Tri-Cities group and you as a council have approved, as well as the councils from the other 2 cities and the county after reviewing it as well. So we're all on board. Everybody's on the same page with how that piece is going to work. Let's see. Oh, lastly on that, before we get into the reporting section on there, the cities will recommend a candidate. And so that's going to be Tri-Cities group is going to work together and recommend the candidate to the county for their consideration. So that's kind of how that process will we'll find a candidate that the Tri-Cities are comfortable with, recommend them to the county for their consideration. On the reporting side of things, so we're going to have, I'll kind of move us along here. There's going to be monthly reports that will go to the Tri-Cities Homelessness Policy Committee. And there's an example of that. I think I handed out to you, or roughly what that might look like. That's the one that says Tri-Cities Homelessness Action Plan Status Update. And we'll touch on that in just a minute, just to kind of say, okay, where are we with individual efforts that are going on at the moment. There's going to be on a bi-monthly basis, they'll probably, with Tri-Cities designated management, I'm guessing it's probably going to be the city managers. We'll sit down on a bi-monthly basis and see where we are in coordinating the needs for the position. On the councils and the county board, there's going to be annual reports. So this position will come before each of the councils and the Board of County Commissioners to present an annual report on how their year has just gone, what they've accomplished. Towards that end, the Homelessness Policy Group has begun discussions, and staff is looking at what types of metrics do we want to have this position and the work plan. What do we want to track? So how are we going to measure success? How are we going to measure what's going on? What metrics and data do we want to use for that? So those discussions are going on right now. And then once we bring the position on board, it'll be a matter of meeting with that person, bringing those those metrics to bear on what they see in the work plan, and then integrating it all together so that we can have these reports on a monthly, bi-monthly, and annual basis. I would imagine that we're going to be also developing like some dashboard types of reports so that we can see and track how these things look, make it easier for the public to keep track and understand what the position is doing and what we're working on as well. So the rest of the IGA is pretty much boilerplate. If you go to the last 2 pages, that's the work plan of the coordinator. And again, as I said, this is a real brief sketch, just a kind of a line item sketch about what that work plan and what we would anticipate that coordinator working on. Again, this is not written in stone. This is an idea of what that would probably look like. Some of the things we've already talked about, it could change as time goes on. But I've picked out a few things in here just to bring to your attention that I know will be a part of the work plan moving forward, no matter what. So if you look at year 1, building a strong foundation, that's what we're doing right now. Working on formalizing that leadership body and how does that all work, hiring the person in the coordinator position. And then some of the things they'll be working on immediately during this first year that they're working on this is working on some of the like getting people to more of our partners to use the HMIS, which is the Homelessness Management Information System. Partnering with Built for Zero, that's a regional effort that's already begun and is going on a regional effort. So this position would work with them. That effort's going on. Designating a lead service provider. We've already, as a committee, started looking at potential service providers. What does that look like? Who might be able to provide that? We've had one proposal already that came from our Change the Trend group here in the Tri-Cities area. And then the same kind of thing on the family side system, although I would say it's not as far along right now, but looking at what does a service provider on the family side look like as well. We've already been starting coordinating efforts with Bridge House, and they're ready to work partnership. We're still trying to find a location for them, a building that they'd be able to use, but that process is still ongoing, and this position would help out with that as well. And then a few things just to talk about moving into year 2. I think once you get into later than that, year 3, it's going to be a little crystal ball, and it'll depend on a lot about what's going on in the first 2 years. But we're definitely looking at having this person work on a central navigation center and putting that concept together and getting that up and going, getting a lived experience advisory board in place. And there's already some folks that are interested in that, helping out with that, as well as putting together a coordinated outreach team. And so basically putting staff together and some additional bodies to help out with that effort. So that's just touching on some of the highlights. There's lots of other aspects that this position will be working on as well. And to kind of touch on that, what that might look like, I handed out this, which is a recommendations matrix. Now, what this does, this came from when we hired the Dr. Alyssa Orduña, sorry. And she put together the report and the work plan that the Tri-Cities group has adopted, in this council as well as the other councils adopted. And then, so this is kind of since I'm a matrix guy and I like a good matrix. They put out this matrix, and it kind of spells out where are all those, what does that work plan look like? And what are the action steps that go along with that? What you'll see is the activity type. And if you look under the third column, it says potential lead. Under there, you'll find a number of those. It says homelessness coordinator. So it'll touch on some of the things that were mentioned and outlined in that IGA, but it gives a little bit more information, like maybe some estimated costs, where some potential funding might come from that. So a little bit more detail. And then also just to let you know that just because, or just that certain items that the homelessness coordinator will be working on, there'll be lots of other things going on as well. So efforts beyond just the efforts of the homelessness coordinator So the city managers will be working on things. The Homelessness Policy Council will continue to work on issues. So this provides you just with a little bit more of maybe a more complete picture of what does this position, what do we anticipate this position doing, as well as how does it fit in with the larger scope and the larger work plan that we're working on as a Tri-Cities group. So I'm not going to go too much into that. I'll let you guys have that. That's why I wanted to print it out and give it to you as a takeaway, so that you can kind of have an idea of where we are with those various things. To give you an idea or an update of where we are recently. Now, this next handout is the Tri-Cities Homelessness Action Plan status update. There's been another one that we did just this week, I think, Mayor. I think Mike did one, but I couldn't find it. So my apologies. This is last
okay.
month's, but I just wanted to provide it for you. And the status hasn't changed very much since January to this month. But you can go in here and it'll give you an idea on what are some of the objectives that are currently, we're working on. And this is, again, what you've seen in the IGA as well as in the recommendation matrix. Starting to look at that, and it gives more of a status and kind of notes as to where we are on each of these items, whether it's completed, it's planned, it's in progress right now, that kind of idea. As you flip through here, there's something, at least a comment on where we are on each one of these for all 3 years. Again, this will change as we move along through here, and then gives a progress overview, in the estimation of the group and the court, the Mike Sandgren, who's currently working a lot of this, was changed the trend on behalf of the committee, kind of estimate of, okay, how far along are we as far as the progress way? So real, just very high level general idea. Okay, how far along are we on these? Are we halfway done? Are we a part of the way done? What it might be, gives you that. And then on the final page, he talks a little bit, gives you some next step priority recommendations. This gives you an idea of kind of right where we are. What are we working on right now? We're working on hiring the coordinator. We're identifying the lead service providers that are out there. So who are we going to contract with? Who do we want to be a lead service provider on the adult single system? And who do we want to be a service provider on a family system? We're identifying ARPA dollars. So I know that we've had that discussion here with our council, and Inglewood has had those discussions. So ourselves and Inglewood are pretty much have a decent idea, at least either amounts or percentages that we're interested in spending or donating, incorporating towards these efforts. Littleton is having their discussion on this. I want to say either later this month or early March. I can't remember what they said, but not in the too distant future. So we'll have an idea of what kind of ARPA funding that we'll have available for the efforts. And then lastly, as I mentioned, we're looking at what does a tracking system look like? So, what kind of data do we want to track? How are we going to measure those? What's important for, say, our councils? What's important for the county commissioners to look at? What's important on a regional level? What are they going to be measuring as part of the Built for Zero process is taking effect regionally, and what are they tracking? So maybe we ought to look at tracking some of the same things so we can compare where are we on a regional basis. So having those discussions, and staff in particular is looking at those aspects right now, and coming up with some lists that will run back by the committee and make sure we're covering and measuring what we want to. So that was very quick kind of rundown on where we are right now. Is there any questions that council might have either about the position or any of the efforts where we are with the Tri-Cities Homelessness Policy Group right now, or anything else along those lines? And I'm sorry I ran through that really quick.
I'm impressed. That was fast. So there'll just be one position for adults and one for families?
Well, I think what we anticipate, Sally, will be that there'll be one coordinator position.
Single adult system and families.
Yeah, and then
system is all gonna
we
be
want to look
one-
at we'll want to look at bringing on board service providers that would service single adults and families. So probably one service provider on the adult side and one service provider on the family side.
Okay.
Because
So
what
two
we've
different
heard-
servers.
I'm sorry?
Would that be two different people then?
Two different organizations. So for
Oh.
example, just,
Oh,
I'm not
okay.
saying that this would be who it is, but like Learning Tree we might want to hire Learning Tree to be the family
Family
provider
tree.
or something like that. Or FERC might, maybe not FERC. But you get an idea. There might be somebody out there who does these types of services right now, and we want to bring them in and contract them to provide a service level either to families or to the single adults that are experiencing homelessness, and have that all those efforts be coordinated through this position. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does now.
Okay.
I
Okay.
just needed you to kind of
You
talk
bet.
me through it again. So service, the single adult system may be one bunch of providers that take care of the single homeless folks. And then the family system would be maybe a different set of providers that are more geared to family stuff, right? that-
Yes, I mean,
Okay.
I think that's kind of what we initially anticipated, although I think that it doesn't preclude that you have a single service provider that provides service for both. I think it's just been, it kind of seems like what we're seeing out there in best practices is that generally you have folks that specialize on one or the other.
Right.
But it doesn't mean that it couldn't be a single provider, or it might morph into a single provider. I think that's what some of our staff has said, that they've seen that work in the past as well. So I think it's just an understanding that we want to have a service provider. We want to provide those service levels to both of those people or those groups that are experiencing homelessness. And then we're going to be relying on this position to help us, get those lined up and bring that, bring those service providers on board.
Okay. Can you just remind me really quick, who shows up at these meetings? Who's all involved in these meetings that you guys go to?
So the homelessness policy, the homelessness, what are we called now?
Tri-City.
Lindsay, you got me thinking.
I don't even
Tri-Cities
know.
Homeless Policy Group.
Tri-Cities Homelessness Policy Committee
Okay,
is it's an elected official from each of the cities. It's the
Uh-huh.
city managers or
yes,
their designee from each of the cities. It's the
Right.
police chiefs or one of their designees from each of the cities. And then it is generally we've had like a county representative, and we've had then service representatives from service providers, say, for example, folks with All Health Network. We have some folks that represent them that attend the meetings. Lindsay with our housing authority, she has attended the meetings. And so that's more of the stakeholder group that is that attends those efforts. And now, as far as the voting goes with that, it's each of the elected officials and each of the city managers. I
Okay,
believe. Wasn't
so
that, Mayor?
is
so.
AAA from Dr. Cog involved because of the meal programs?
No, we don't have anybody from Dr. Cog involved on that group itself. It's
Huh.
not that we couldn't engage them, but we've been kind of,
Because
working
they
on
have, they
just on
have the
Tri-Cities.
wheels. Yeah, they have the AAA program
Yeah,
under Dr.
the Area
Cog.
Agency on Aging.
Yes, they do
Mhm.
they do the Meals on Wheels program.
Mhm.
And then they also do some, they help with housing and different kind of stuff for elderly folks.
Right.
So I'm surprised they're not involved.
Well,
Interesting.
yeah, so
Doesn't mean
Dr.
that they
Cog hasn't,
won't
well,
be.
that's the Area Agency on Aging, and there are housing issues that go along with that, but it's not
Right.
necessarily for people experiencing homelessness.
And I
So
think
there's
that-
a whole continuum of housing that needs to be addressed in the region, obviously.
Right.
But yeah, but this isn't really that focus.
Okay. Oh, it's so confusing.
Well, that's a lot. I mean, it's
It is a
it's a
lot.
lot to get your arms around.
It's a
Absolutely.
There's so
lot.
many
of stuff.
different, there's so many different challenges involved in homelessness. that
Well, and
it-
that's why we
Yeah.
need that's why we need a coordinator position, is
exactly.
really to help us, keep our ducks in a row and, move this forward. Yeah.
And so then you guys are gonna find a coordinator, pick a coordinator.
So what the Tri-Cities group will recommend a person to the county for the position.
Understood.
And we have somebody in mind, but I'm not going to go into that at this in public here.
Got you.
Okay, thank you. So that's where we are on that, Mayor.
So,
Thank you. Thanks for that overview.
I'll
Good
be happy to do other questions or anything. I want everybody to feel comfortable with this, because it's going to be taking up a fair amount of our time over the next few years. Make sure
Got
that we're comfortable moving into it.
I'm really excited about where we're at. You know, we're shifting gears. We're going from planning to action now.
It's kind of cool, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. And by the way, we had a big article in the Denver Post over the weekend that talked about this. And I was quoted in that, and just let you know, I never said boots on the ground. It's just not. I didn't.
You didn't say any of
The
that
reporter
stuff?
said, would it be fair to say this is where the time when we put boots on the ground? And so I'm like, yeah, sure. It was like, but I didn't say that.
Well, I
Anyway,
can tell you that my mother cut the thing out and laid it
Oh,
on
good.
my, yes, so,
Oh, nice.
it was a nice write-up. It was a
Yeah.
decent write-up. Yeah.
I thought it was pretty fair and
Mhm.
mostly accurate. Yeah.
Mhm.
mostly accurate, but you didn't say any of that. Gotcha.
Yeah.
How funny. Thank you so much for you and Tara stepping up and doing that. That's a lot.
No, absolutely. I enjoy it.
It's been a challenge though for me since Mayor Olson left, and she was such a strong leader for the group. So,
Yeah. And that's right. So Mayor Biter-Fleur is now the chair
mhm,
of the group. Mhm.
it's tough.
Hmm.
Big shoes to fill.
Yeah, she did a good job,
Yeah.
but you do a good job too. So.
Oh, thanks.
Mhm. Mayor, the last thing I have was an update for council on Sheridan Sand District #1. I can do it either now, or I can do it during my manager's report if we need to take a break between now and the regular meeting.
What do you all think? Should we try to get it done now? Yeah, let's try to push through. And
Okay,
Yeah.
absolutely. All right, let me switch gears here. Going from homelessness to sanitation districts. Hey, that's what makes it fun to be a city manager, right?
Yeah, doesn't get
Okay.
boring.
So update, where are we with Sheridan Sand District #1? So as you recall, when I last left you, we had approved as a council to go ahead and spend some ARPA money towards rehabilitating this system and getting up to speed so it could be dissolved and absorbed by another sanitation district. There's kind of 4 players in this going on right now. There's the city, there's Sand District #1, there's Platte Canyon, which is the district management folks for Valley Sanitation District, and there's Valley Sanitation District and their board of directors. Okay. So here's what's going on. I had a discussion with the director of Platte Canyon, the management folks for Valley Sand District, and asked them if they'd be comfortable drafting the scope of work for the system improvements that are required under the inspection that happened. They said, yes, we'd be comfortable drafting that scope of work, since it's going to have to meet their satisfaction in order for them to recommend taking over the district at any point. Anyway, they were very good about that, to agree to draft up that scope. That process is going to take 2 to 3 weeks or so. Okay. The city, and our role in this right now, is going to be, once that scope has been developed, we'll incorporate it into our RFP, our request for proposals process, and put it out and solicit bids for this project. Once the bids come in, we will coordinate the bid review with Platte Canyon so that they have at least somebody in on that process and review those bids with us. The city will though ultimately be responsible for the awarding the bid and then executing the contract for the work to be done. Okay. And then overall the ongoing project oversight after that. That process is probably 6 to 8 weeks from now. So Sheridan Sand District number 1. What we need from Sheridan Sand District number 1 is kind of 2 things. We need a access agreement from them there, or something in the contract that says that they will allow us to access their system and make the improvements there and not be held liable for any issues that come out of that. And then eventually we will need some type of an MOU or whatever Bill decides maybe that wants to look like. Is what I want is something in writing from the Valley Sand Board that says, all right, if the city's going to spend all this money, this is going to be in good faith. You are in good faith going to then proceed with absorbing the district once Sheridan Sand District 1 dissolves. And so they will, something in writing says, yes, if you make all these improvements and they meet our, meet the level of improvements that whatever we're looking at, something along those in writing that says, we're not going to spend all this money and then be stuck with a sand district. If somebody doesn't, right? Because we're not doing it to go into the sanitation district business. So that, and I ran it by Tim Flynn, and then Bill and I were talking about that, and Tim said 5 to 6 weeks for putting that together. I don't know, maybe we can do it a little quicker. I was going to talk to you about that, but we'll see. So anyway, we're looking at, probably late spring, early summer, being able to go to construction, hopefully somewhere around in there, which is good timing for some of that kind of work. Once they're on site, I think the project will go fairly quickly, because that kind of a project on a small system like Sheridan Sand District 1 shouldn't take too long at all, a couple weeks maybe. So it'll be more a matter of just when can we get them out on site and moving, whoever gets that contract doing that. And then, the final steps will be the dissolution of Sheridan Sand District number 1, and then a vote by the Valley Sand District Board to take that district over. What do they call that, Bill?
So when I talked to Tim today, so he believes he can get an agreement with Valley. And so what that will include is that Sand 1 will dissolve.
Right.
And then there'll be an inclusion into Valley.
Inclusion, that's the word.
And then
I've been wanting that word all day. Thank you.
and then when they
Inclusion.
have the inclusion, he believes that they don't have to have a table election because they had previously done an inclusion and a vote for it.
Oh, good. Okay.
So he thinks that should be relatively straightforward.
Good. So hopefully by midsummer or so, we're done. Into summer, maybe.
All right.
Something like that. And we're done with
All right.
that.
So Devin, they're
What's that?
Well, boots on the ground then.
Yeah.
boots on the ground. They're not, as far as we know, right? The system is okay. So if something happens to the system
Okay
between
now.
now
Oh,
and
no,
then,
it's not
No,
okay.
it's not okay.
No,
What
it's in
happened?
pretty poor shape.
what happens if something happens before then?
Say that
Then-
again. I'm sorry, Sally.
What if the system fails before then?
Well, we'll have to fix it.
We would have to
So-
fix it.
Yeah, so the whole idea is that we're going to
Cool.
get it lined. And so that lining process is actually pretty quick. So there's a lining
Right.
process that would bring the collection system up to snuff, so to speak. And then we would, there's a few issues with some manholes that need to be adjusted, and then a few other odds and ends here and there. Once that's done, it should be in a position where you won't have any significant failures for quite a bit of time. I think those linings are supposed to last anywhere upwards around 50 years or so. I don't know,
I
Dallas.
think that's what,
Yeah.
yeah. I think that's what Randy said, right, last time.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you,
Oh.
Sally.
I said, I think that's what Randy said, that they last about 50 years or so last.
Right.
Meeting,
Right.
but,
And
okay,
then,
so
and then the customers will have a maintenance, now they haven't had to pay much in the way of anything on maintenance fees for the system, but when they get absorbed into Valley, they'll have to then pay for the maintenance of that improvement.
Well, Tim said their fee will be a bit higher, but
Yeah.
they will also be getting a system that's up and working and maintained and avoiding the catastrophe if something would happen
Yes.
the way it currently is, which would eventually happen.
No, it's a good deal for them.
Mm.
Without doubt. Right?
I don't think your mic's, is your mic?
But that we're doing it. It really
Understand.
does.
I understand.
I mean, we're adding to Valley Sanitation to their assets.
right.
Enough said.
Are you reconsidering?
Yeah,
Does the other sand district want some assets?
no,
Are you reconsidering?
well, maybe we will. Maybe we would. If we're gonna pay to have it all fixed up, yeah. We'd maybe take a new one too.
Oh, it won't be new.
And, last time I said, we need to get the word out, what these people are getting. Let's not put that word out. Because other people are gonna be upset about it.
Oh, yeah, and I
Let's
agree.
not
It's
put
not
that word
ideal. Yeah. It's not ideal.
That's all. That's all. I digress. I'm sorry.
I feel you.
That's it, Mayor. That's it. But I'm happy to answer questions about
Does
it.
anybody have any other questions or comments right now? No? Okay, well, we'll adjourn the work session at 7:03 PM. We'll move right into our regular meeting.
Oh, shoot.
And I'll have Andrea give her intro again.
Hello, everyone. My name is Gisela Escobedo, and I'm here with the Community Language Co-op. And I want to say thank you for providing language justice. Thank you for giving an opportunity for the people to participate and engage in the language of their heart, the language that they feel most comfortable in, or the language that they practice at home. We're going to be using simultaneous interpretation to create this space. So when I finish saying this in Spanish, we will turn on interpretation and you will see a globe icon on the bottom of your bar that says interpretation. If you're not fully bilingual, I ask that you select your preferred language. If you are going to be facilitator or speaking during the meeting, I ask that you speak as a conversational pace so I'm able to interpret as best as possible. Hola a todos, mi nombre es Gisela Escobedo y estoy aquí con la Community Language Co-op y quiero darle las gracias a los organizadores de este evento por proveer la justicia del lenguaje. Gracias porque nos están dando una oportunidad para poder participar e involucrarnos en el idioma de nuestro corazón o en el idioma en el que nos sentimos más cómodos. Vamos a estar usando la interpretación simultánea para crear este espacio. Así que cuando termine de decir esto, vamos a activar interpretación y usted va a ver un icono de globo en la barra debajo de su pantalla que dice interpretación. Si no eres completamente bilingüe, te pido que selecciones tu idioma preferido. Si vas a estar facilitando o presentando durante la reunión, te pido que hables en una rapidez de conversación para poder interpretar lo mejor posible. Muchas gracias. Thank you very much. You can go ahead and turn on interpretation.
Thank you, Zelda. So I'll call to order our regular meeting for February 14th, 2022 at 7:06 PM. Could I have roll call, please?
Council members Hall,
Present?
Stang. Here. Daigle,
Here,
Mayor Butterfloor,
Here.
Council members Whitaker, Council member Smith,
Here?
Council members Kelly.
Here.
You have a quorum, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Could I get a motion to excuse Councilmember Whitaker's absence, please?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Motion made by Councilmember Smith and seconded by Councilmember Hall. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is approved unanimously. Next, we'll move on to have our invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Ready? Loving Father, I pray for open hearts and minds so that we may recognize and be grateful for all the love in our lives. I pray that we might find a new sense of wholeness, joy, and peace in your love. Remove all obstacles so that we may grow in love throughout our lives. Give us the grace to trust in your loving plan for us so that whatever circumstances over the course of our lives, may we know that we are not alone, that we are loved by you, our loving Father, who is full of tenderness, mercy, and compassion. Amen. That's
Pledge
I
about
pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America
America.
and to the
To the
republic
republic
for which
which
it
it
stands,
stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with
liberty
liberty
and
and
justice for all. Do you have any changes to the agenda? Any changes to the agenda tonight?
No changes
All right.
tonight, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. We have an opportunity for public comment if there's anyone who would like to speak to council.
Not at this time, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Staff reports, City Clerk.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Not anything really to report on, but I did want to thank Jenna and Randy for the lettering that they installed out by your pictures. I hope you all noticed it when you came in.
Didn't, I'll have to look
And-
on the way out.
You didn't?
Uh-uh.
Okay, pay attention when you
All
walk
right.
out. And then also, if you'll check your mailboxes again. That needs to be done on every time you have a meeting. It'd be great. That's all I have tonight, Madam Mayor.
Yeah, I try not to just stare at my own picture as I walk in, you know, it seems.
You'll see
kind of
all the writing
conceited,
all
you know?
over it. Make sure you're still there.
City Attorney. you got any-
Nothing to report, Mayor.
City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. A few things I wanted to update the council on. One of them is that the city completed a pay equity analysis under, make sure I cite the right thing, under the Colorado Equal Pay for Equal Work Act that the Senate or the Colorado passed in 2019. That basically says you can't discriminate in how you pay employees based on sex or other types of protected statuses and things along those lines. And you have to be able to prove that you don't do so. So I hired our consultants, or had them, our CPS HR consultants, do a pay equity analysis, looking at that to make sure that we weren't. I didn't think that we were, and you'll be happy to know that we are okay. So just real briefly, the equity study concluded that the city of Sheridan pay administration and wage distribution have no obvious pay inequities. So we're in good shape when it comes to that. They did point out, and we knew this, that we do have some compression issues in the police department, and we're aware of those, and we're working on that, fairly minor ones, nothing too much. Also in the police department, our step system has some unequal steps. And we want to maybe look at that and see how we address that in future. But again, those are fairly minor types of issues. And really what we're looking at, and again, we knew those issues, we're just looking at it. Are we in compliance under the Colorado law for this? And yes, we are. And I have the report to prove it. So wanted you guys to know that. We are currently working on a project I wanted to do for a while, and that is getting rid of our Board of Adjustment. I'm sure maybe some of you didn't even know we had a Board of Adjustment. I've been here for over 10 years and there's never been a meeting of the Board of Adjustment in my 10 plus years. Looking at it for a few different reasons. One, As you know, smaller cities and us, it's hard enough to keep boards and commissions and people in those seats. And this is one more of those that hardly, if ever, meets. Secondly, it doesn't seem like in today's world, it's terribly appropriate for a separate board to look at certain issues with regards to variance. Let me take a step back. The Board of Adjustment is the board that grants variances to our zoning and building codes, okay? So it's a very important thing. You know, a variance can be a big deal. And having a separate board of people that are not trained and have no idea how that works and very rarely meets is just not an ideal situation. So we're working right now on an ordinance, and it is going to Planning and Zoning Commission on Wednesday for their first look at it to do away with the Board of Adjustment and move their authority, the Board of Adjustment's authority for variances to the Planning and Zoning Commission. Have the Planning and Zoning Commission be the board that would consider requests for variances. So you'll still be able to request a variance. You'd still be able to go through that process, but it won't be with the Board of Adjustment. It will be with the Planning and Zoning Commission. And then we do a few other things in the for Planning and Zoning Commission, cleaning up that ordinance. There's some old language in there. So we're doing some streamlining. I just wanted to give you guys a heads up on it. We'll get plenty of opportunity to look at it and talk about it. But I just wanted you guys to know that yes, we are going to, in case somebody says, oh, did you know that we're doing that? P&Z is doing this. And so now you can say, yes, I know. And we'll be looking at that in a few weeks. Dallas, question.
Yeah, I do. I think it's a great idea. I think it's probably time to do something like that. If they go before the Planning and Zoning, if they have an appeal for a variance and it's turned down, where is their second option?
The second option is to the city manager.
That's right.
Their third option is the district court.
Okay.
Now that's only, I'm trying to remember that. So Andrew and Keith have been working on this draft for a little while. That's the process for most of the variances, unless it is an appeal of a our chief building official and a ruling made by that office. That I believe we made it to go straight to district court rather than to the city manager. Because generally at that point, it's most of those issues with building department are fairly black and white. You know, it's pretty clear.
It isn't building towards a lot
right.
line
It's
or
building
something like
safety
that.
kind of stuff. It's fairly straightforward. And really all I would be looking at, or the court in that matter, is a process type of related question saying, did you follow your process? And did you act within your scope of authority? Those kind of things like that. So already the chief building official already kind of has that authority designated to him in our thing. So it didn't make sense to have it go to the city manager. If they want to appeal it, just go to court.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think that's, it's coming to you guys and we'll get to go into more detail and Keith and Andrew can talk about it a little bit more. I just wanted to give you guys a heads up on it. Okay. Let's see. I can't remember if I mentioned this or not, but I just wanted to make sure you guys are aware of it. We are submitting a charge ahead grant application for, make sure I get it right. Ari is moving this one forward. It was for installing two 120 kilowatt DCFC EV charging stations at City Hall to help charge EV electric vehicles. So I just wanted to guys, make sure that you guys are where we are. We've gone a couple cycles looking at this and wanting to apply and haven't, but we've got it in the latest grant cycle. So hopefully we will get approved for that, or at least consideration for that, and then have the ability to charge some electric vehicles here at City Hall, as well as the public be able to use them as well here. And we hope that we're able to do that and get it set up here. And then maybe our next phase would be, say, partnering with folks down at River Point and getting some put in down at River Point, and have folks being able to access them there as well. If we can show them, yeah, we're doing it here and we're using them here at City Hall, and we did a good job with it, maybe we'll get some additional funds to be able to do that, partner with the private sector down there to do that. That's what we'd like to do. We'll see how it goes. We do this on an annual basis. It's the Arapahoe County Mayors and Commissioners Youth Awards. These awards annually recognize high school seniors who have overcome adversity and obstacles to achieve their goals through dignity, integrity, and perseverance. We have always, every year, been a sponsor of this program. We give a donation that I believe these folks, the kids use for towards a scholarship program, receive scholarships. So I've already told them that I hope you don't mind, I jumped the gun and told them we would sponsor as we do each year. It's fairly small, it's $500. But what they will generally ask for as well is for an elected official or two to be a reviewer. Or at least a representative from the city to be a reviewer of the applications. I believe, Mayor, you did it last year.
Yeah, I did.
And so I just wanted to mention that we will sponsor it again. And maybe you can let the mayor know if you're interested, or Mayor, if you wanted to do it again this year. I just want to mention that we'll do that again. And I'm sure they'll be putting out the call for reviewers here shortly. And I can let you guys know when that is.
If somebody else wants to take the turn, that's fine. It's pretty fun. It's actually really interesting to read the kids' applications and, discuss them with the other folks who are on the panel with you. And, our Sheridan kids did really well last year. I think we had either 3 or 4 kids from SOAR Academy who got scholarships. So
Yeah. Good.
it was
Yeah.
great.
So as soon as I get the more information as to when the review process and all of that is, I'll pass it along to Mayor and Council, let you guys know. So give you a heads up on that. I think that's all I've got for now, Mayor. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Okay, Chief, what's new?
Madam Mayor, Council, have a few things to go over tonight. So just talk about our partnership with the Sheridan schools. I'm sure you saw the Read Out Loud program that City Manager Granberry sent to you. That's a program that we started. Bruce Williams, one of our officers, has done a great job of reaching out to the kids. I've asked our day shift officers to get out there into the schools and make sure that they're interacting with the kids. And Bruce has done a great job there. He has lunch and breakfast and hands out milks and different things. So we decided to do a program over there. We bought a couple of bikes, and going to be a neat little program we have going over there to try to teach the kids how to not only, read, but read out loud and start on their presentation skills while they're young. Great story on that. And then I was asked by to go to the Sheridan High School on February 24th and do a cyberbullying, internet dangers type of presentation. That's going to be for the parents. So we'll be doing that on February 24th in the evening. And we haven't had an SRO since Amanda Santa Cruz has left. So we put it out to our officers asking if someone was interested. We only had one of our officers express interest. It was a newer officer. And we really want our officers to have a strong foundation of their regular patrol duties before we give them a special assignment like that. So we hadn't been able to fill that position. But we were able to attract a longtime Denver police SRO. They took their SROs out of the school last year. I think that was a big mistake. The principals and a lot of people really wanted their SROs to stay in there. But this person had been an SRO when they first started the program in Denver to the very last day that they took it out. And he really has a knack for getting along with the kids and building good relationships. And he wanted to continue to do that. So he decided to come over to Sheridan, and we're going to have him as the SRO for our department. So we did have him meet with Superintendent Sandos and some of the staff over there before we made the move official to bring him on. They really liked him. A lot of them have worked with him in the Denver public schools before, but his name's Kenny Chavez. He brings over a lot of experience in the SRO part of that. And the schools are just so important for our police department because that's where we're trying to change the mindset of some of the things the negative things that we see on TV or different places, and build those strong relationships so they last long after school. So I'm excited about that. And a couple other things is that our peer support program, it's going strong. We're continuing to build that. We had a small grant last year. We used the money in that grant. I'm thankful to say that our officers are using the mental health services that we have. I really encourage them to do that. And I told them that I've used the services in the past because long ago it was that, if you were an officer and you came on, they expected you to be strong and tough, and you don't need that. That's not the right approach. We're only human, and we have to take care of them before they act out in a way that we don't want them to. So we did get another peer support grant for this year of $13,000 that will help us in those efforts and not take away more funds from the city. So I was glad to see we were able to get that. And then last year, you remember we had a car show in July that was very successful. We are looking at doing that again July 9th, and our department partnering with them again. But I wanted to mention this to you now because I told them that I would really like partnering with that car club, but I want something to come back to the city of Sheridan. So last year they sponsored for our Explorer program. And this year I was thinking of doing some type of nonprofit within Sheridan. So if anybody has any ideas of a nonprofit that you'd like me to maybe pitch for this, we can get hopefully a few $1,000s or more for one of your programs and maybe alternate things along, every year. So we're not doing the same thing, or it's not always going to the Sheridan Police Department. I want it to be something that our whole community can rally behind. So think about that. If you think of something, either give me a call or email me. That would be great because I'd love to pitch that for us. And then just a couple other updates. I was asked if I would consider being on CAPPA, which is the Colorado Theft Prevention Authority. They are the folks who bought our license plate readers. So it's really important to have good partnerships with them. I was asked to be on the board that's actually appointed by the governor. Governor Polis has to do the appointing. So I had to have somebody ask for me to get on the board, and then I had to apply, and I did, and I was granted that. So I'll be helping with the CAPPA to help with our relationships and further things that we may need here in Sheridan. And then also I was asked to be on the Bill Daniel Scholarship Committee to help grant scholarships to young people. And I'll do that. It's just going to be a few hours on a Friday that we have coming up. But again, something that I could hopefully get information and bring it back to our students here in Sheridan so that we could help, just expand out and make sure that people are seeing what we're doing in Sheridan and that we're here and bring all those good things that we can over here. So just part of what we're doing and wanted to bring you up to date. So
What's the
any
name of that?
questions?
What was the name of that scholarship? I didn't catch.
It's the Bill Daniels Scholarship.
Oh,
Fund.
okay. Yeah.
So, yeah,
Daniels. Okay.
It's a big fund.
Yeah. Congratulations
Great.
on both of those.
Thank you.
That's great.
Thank you.
Anybody have any questions? No? It's quiet tonight. All right. Thank you, Steve. Okay, we'll move along. The minutes of the regular city council meeting of January 24th, 2022.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of,
Second.
I didn't even get it done.
I'm sorry.
January 24th, 2022.
Motion made by Councilmember Smith, seconded by Councilmember Daigle. Any discussion on the minutes? Can I get a vote, please?
Councilmembers Hall,
Yes.
Stang,
Yes.
Daigle,
Yes.
Mayor Butterfur,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
unanimous, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. The consent agenda authorized disbursements that have been or will be made from January 16th, 2022 to January 31st, 2022 in the amount of $1,013,295.66 for the referenced and attached transfer of funds.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion made by Councilmember Stang and seconded by Councilmember Hall. Any discussion on the consent agenda? I remembered I had asked you a question. I don't know if you want to go into anything on the red light camera and the photo radar. You want to share any of what that was about?
Yeah, I can mention that really quick, Mayor. I'm sorry. And Chief, let me know if I get any of this wrong, but, and I believe I shared some of this information with council week or two ago when with regards to Mark Tessero and Commander McDonald and the work that they did on reviewing our contract that we had with Conduit for the red light camera and looking at our monthly bills that came through there. Through their review, they were able to establish that we had kind of more or less been overpaying to the contractor Conduit on that for quite some time. But they were able to work with Conduit and go back several months and come to a settlement that saved the city over $123,000, which was nice. What you see in the pay report is that we were holding up those payments, those monthly payments to Conduit until that settlement was reached. And then once that was reached, we then paid the agreed to or settled amounts and that's why those all came in one right after the other in that pay report. Did I miss anything, Chief, on that or?
No, that was pretty much it. So.
Great, thank you. And thanks to Mark and company for finding those dollars. That's great work. You know, I heard it was a lot of work to go through review all those tickets. So.
It was, something that we had just been looking at, and we want to just look at all the different contracts we have and make sure that we're doing our best for the city and look at it, fine tooth comb. And we found that these charges aren't right. Conduit tried to tell us, well, you guys made a gentleman's agreement. And, we were just able to get through it and save the city some money. So we'll continue to do our best to help with that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks.
Did I get a motion yet? I got off track now. I did.
Yes,
Okay.
we had a motion.
Okay. Can we get a vote, please?
Okay. Councilmember Stang,
Yes.
Daigle,
Yes.
Mayor Bartlefleur,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Hall,
Yes.
unanimous, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Next, we have a resolution. Resolution number 4 of 2022. A resolution of the City Council of the City of Sheridan reappointing Jason Abbey to the Planning and Zoning Commission and establishing his term of office.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 4 of 2022.
I'll second.
Stang. All right. Motion made by Councilmember Hall and seconded by Councilmember Stang. Any discussion on resolution number 4? I'd like to thank Mr. Abbey for continuing to serve. Yes, appreciate that. It's always good to have some continuity. And can we get a vote on that?
Councilmember Daigle,
Yes.
Mayor Bartlefleur,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Hall,
Yes.
Stang,
Yes.
unanimous, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Next tonight, we have resolution number 5 of 2022. A resolution of the City Council of the City of Sheridan, Colorado, approving the intergovernmental agreement between the cities of Sheridan, Englewood, Littleton, and the County of Arapahoe, Colorado, for the development of a Tri-Cities homelessness coordinator position.
I'll make a motion to accept resolution number 5 of 2022.
I'll second.
Second.
Sorry. Gosh, we're just all on it.
Everybody's all over each
I
other.
even waited. I
know.
was like,
Sally can take her or whoever.
Okay. Motion made by Councilmember Smith, seconded by Councilmember Daigle. Any discussion on resolution number 5? I just want to say I appreciate everybody's support as we're continuing to do what we can to help out people who are struggling. And I really appreciate the partnerships that we have with the other cities in the county. I think it's a fantastic collaboration. Can I get a
Thank
vote,
you so
please?
much.
Mayor Bartlefleur,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Hall,
Yes.
Stang,
Yes.
Daigle,
Yes.
unanimous, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Next, we have Mayor's Choice. I wanted to give a little Sheridan Celebrates update. Speaking of charity partnerships, we picked our charity that we're going to support this year, and it's going to be the Sheridan Strings program at Fort Logan Northgate. So that's certainly an option if you want to jump on that bandwagon, chief. Or we had two other applicants that we didn't pick. That was Riverside Soccer Club and the Sheridan Inspire organization. So if either of those you want to consider for your car show, they might appreciate that. The Riverside guy was very passionate. He's a kind of like a one-man show, revitalizing the whole program over there. So he'd probably be interested in talking to you.
And that's in Sheridan, the Riverside program?
They have an office at Fort Logan
Okay.
on the mental health campus, but he is trying to get more participation from Sheridan kids.
Okay.
And then I wanted to thank Councilmember Kelly. He's been new on the committee, but he is spearheading the first annual Sheridan Celebrates Fun Run. Which we're hoping to have for the parade. So I'm pretty excited about that. I think it'll be cool. And it fits with our theme of fun and games too.
Yeah.
And then just a reminder, we have coffee with council, 9 o'clock at Panera this Saturday. Yes.
Along with that.
Yeah.
Groundwork Denver's having cleanup. And I'm sorry, did I take that away?
No, go ahead.
Is it this Saturday?
I was gonna say, but you can.
No, go ahead. Fill in the details because
It's just a plaque cleanup this weekend. Yeah. On Saturday at 9 o'clock.
At 9?
Hmm.
Usually I hear about those. I didn't hear about this one.
I didn't
You
either.
can email it.
Okay. We'll try and be in two places at the same time.
You talk with people and then go over there.
Right.
Yeah.
You know,
There you
there's always more trash. It's not like they're gonna run out, you know?
Right. They're not gonna be done by 10 o'clock.
All right. Any other council members want to bring anything up tonight?
Just the Arapahoe County Transportation Forum has a meeting on Thursday, 3 to 5. And I did send Councilman Kelly the invite, if he'd like to join.
Nice. You sent it to the email?
Yes, to
Okay.
President, that email. El Presidente.
All right. I'll look at my schedule. I should be in Colorado. We'll see.
Anybody else?
If not, next Wednesday is the Dr. Cog meeting. And
Okay.
if you haven't gotten that information, let me know and I'll make sure you get it.
All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Anything else, Councilmember Daigle?
That's it. That's all I was gonna say. All I
Councilmember
know.
Smith?
I don't know much.
You were talking about these EV chargers. And over the last week, I've been working with my son to get his truck back on the road. We were talking. What would be the odds of the police department being able to get 1 or 2 electric cars or possibly the sergeants? We're only 2 square miles. An electric car would be the perfect thing for the city to once again, to show the example. And a lot of people think that I'm against electric cars, but there's some places we can use them. There's some places we can't. And he was kind of saying because a regular patrolman, the car's going all day long. So you had a sergeant, you could be charging it when they're in between shifts. And just an opportunity to look at. I don't even know if they make them in for police departments yet.
And I'll let the chief respond in just a second, just to let you guys know. So we're anticipating if we get the chargers and we get it awarded and we're able to put them in place here, we're definitely getting one car, and will probably be like a pool car for general government or whoever, anybody wants to use it really as a pool car for running around doing those kind of things like that, so that we can do that. And then I myself, I don't know about patrol vehicles and electrical, and I'll let the chief speak towards that, but we definitely would, if we get the facilities in place, then we definitely want to consider, okay, what parts of our fleet do we look at make sense for any kind of conversion?
So we've actually looked at the electric vehicles for our police officers. There is a few departments that have been using actually Teslas. I thought that might be a little too fancy, but of course Teslas were some of the first EV vehicles that were really getting out there. And we looked at that, and the maintenance end, it was a little more expensive on the front end, but the maintenance end, we would save money. And so we were definitely interested. But of course, things were on back order and we couldn't do that even for this year. But another one that we really are interested in is the truck, because we're looking at getting a couple of trucks to put in service just so when we need to move gear or different things, and it'll still work for the other things as well. But the new trucks, the EV trucks that are coming out are really impressive. And if we can get one that is cost effective, we definitely would like to have one. So I would say in the next year or two, hopefully we can get one.
Maybe for the SRO.
Yeah. And I think hopefully once we get some infrastructure in place to do that, then it opens us up to go out for additional grants for like fleet replacement and things. So there are grants out there for, you know, with fleet, enhancing your fleet, converting your fleet over, doing those kind of things like that. But you got to have, you have to have the infrastructure, the charging infrastructure in place first.
I became a big advocate for the electric vehicles. Actually, I bought my wife a Tesla, and it is amazing. I thought they were always $100,000, but they're, you know, just midpoint like any other car. And it is an amazing vehicle. And one charge would last an entire shift. We wouldn't have to worry about charging in between shifts. So they have really come a long way. And I actually used her vehicle to tow a little bit of trailer that I got. I couldn't even fill the trailer back there. It towed better than my F-150 truck. They're amazing. So those new trucks that are coming out are really supposed to be something. So I like them.
Nice.
Cool.
I got one more thing. I'd like to, if you're going to attend that for the students, I'd like to do that because my son got a scholarship way back when because of that program.
Okay, you'd like to participate in the,
Yep, I really would.
okay.
Yep. And he got like, I think it was $250 scholarship, and he went to Arapahoe Community College. So.
Cool.
Excellent. So Arlene and I will keep an eye out for when they ask for reviewers.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else? See anybody? Going once, going twice? All right, that's it for council members. One more chance for public comment. All right, thank you. So we'll adjourn for tonight. It is 7:39 p.m.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
everybody.
Stay safe, be healthy. Happy Valentine's
Sally.
Day.
Happy Valentine's Day.